Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 22nd of June 2021, and these are the stories that we will be talking about during the course of the show. We will begin with the relationship between Pakistan and the United States of America, Pakistan and Afghanistan. There have been two interviews or op-eds given by our Prime Minister recently. One to Axios TV that was recently telecast on the home box office, in which our Prime Minister had said that Pakistan will not give any bases to the US to be used against Afghanistan. And secondly, very recently he has given an opinion piece, he has written an opinion piece for the Washington Post, in which he has said that Pakistan is ready to be a partner for peace in Afghanistan, but we will not host US bases. As US troops withdraw, we will avoid risk of further conflict. This is going to be our leading segment, Pakistan and its role as far as the Afghan peace process is concerned, nevertheless its relationship with the US as well. Our second topic of the day, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be about Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The leaders of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir have urged India's Narendra Modi to restore the region's autonomy. We know what has happened with Article 370 and 35A. At the same time, a lot of other developments are also occurring. We know the way Narendra Modi is dealing with Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the recent rumors that have emanated as to further dissemination or further changes in the territory of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. We will be discussing that as our second segment. Then we will be talking about the FATF meeting that has begun from Monday, June the 21st in Paris, and of course Pakistan's performance. We know that the FATF has cleared Pakistan on 22 more points, and it's largely compliant on 31 out of 40 points in fact. And of course all depends on the result of this meeting that will be announced on this Friday, whether Pakistan remains on the grey list or whether Pakistan moves back to the white list. And finally, today is the 5th death anniversary of Amjad Sabri Qawwal. It has been 5 years that Amjad Sabri has left us. He has of course left a void as far as the world of music and the world of Qawwali in Pakistan and across the globe is concerned. This is going to be our last segment. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Pakistan's relationship with Afghanistan. Pakistan that has always believed in an Afghan-led and an Afghan-owned peace process. Nevertheless, Pakistan does not want other countries to intrude into Afghanistan through Pakistan. More in the following report.
Pakistan has played a key role in facilitating the Afghan peace process and the US-Taliban talks. These talks have reportedly made encouraging progress over the past few months. Pakistan's Premier Imran Khan has relentlessly reiterated Islamabad's consistent support for the Afghan peace process, while citing that a peaceful and stable Afghanistan is in the best interest of Pakistan. In a dramatic turn of events, Prime Minister Imran Khan absolutely denied lending military bases to the United States to bomb Afghanistan or pursue any military operation.
Any sort of action from Pakistani territory into Afghanistan? Absolutely not. Pakistan suffered 70,000 casualties, more than any other country, by joining the American war. We cannot afford any more military actions from our territory. We will be partners in peace, not in conflict.
Pakistan is also cognizant of its fundamental role as neighboring country of Afghanistan because it has immense potential to contribute to the peace and welfare of the people in a war-torn country. Islamabad ardently supports an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned peace process while reiterating that military solution will not untangle Afghan quagmire because the country cannot be controlled by outside powers. While Pakistan continues to play a supportive role in promoting peace in the region, a key to a socio-economically stable Afghanistan lies in sustained engagements of the West. Pakistan, Afghanistan and the US should bridge the trust deficit among all stakeholders to bring peace in Afghanistan because one country cannot do so on its own. Furthermore, both Pakistan and Afghanistan have to realize they stand at the crossroads of many shared challenges. Neither can meet these challenges alone. They will have to work together to improve their political relations and have a coordinated regional strategy, joint border control and counter-terrorism cooperation.
Now, Pakistan's desire for an Afghan-owned and Afghan-led peace process, nevertheless not wanting its territory to be used against Afghanistan in any way whatsoever is a very important step as far as Pakistan's role in regional affairs, and especially its regional cooperation with countries such as Afghanistan is concerned. To talk more about that and Pakistan's role in regional affairs, we've been joined by Mr. Raoof Hasan. He's a special assistant to the Prime Minister on information. Thank you very much, Raoof Hasan Saab, to have joined us. The pleasure is all mine, sir. Raoof Hasan Saab, first of all, the Prime Minister gives two very important statements. First on HBO for his interview with Axios TV, the second in this opinion article that he wrote himself for the Washington Post, and both are more or less centered around Afghanistan and Pakistan's desire for peace in Afghanistan. At the same time, there are a lot of apprehensions as well that come from the Prime Minister's mind, and of course he has reiterated that during his interview as well. What is actually happening in Afghanistan and how is Pakistan moving forward?
Thank you for getting me here. Afghanistan presents a very divided picture, and that's very painful. Much that Pakistan has tried, much that some other countries have also tried to convince the Afghan stakeholders to sit together with a flexible mind, with a cooperative mind, and come to an understanding with regard to how best they would like their country to move forward. Unfortunately, they have so far not been able to do it. And I'm afraid that in the little time that is at the disposal now, between now and the 4th of July, when the American troops would be completely gone from there, I don't think there is much hope, so far as I'm concerned. And there are multiple people, whom I have met at the recently held Track 2 dialogue also in Islamabad, who have much hope that there is going to be a breakthrough.
There are a lot of apprehensions as far as civil war is concerned in Afghanistan. Do you feel they are slowly and steadily rendering themselves true?
I was actually getting to that. If they don't come to an understanding, an agreement with regard to formation of an interim government or a coalition government or whatever that is, then the only alternative that remains is a civil war. And it's going to be a bloody civil war because the Taliban would be coming back as victors. They are virtually knocking at the Kabul gates right now. They are taking over 3-4 district headquarters, on a daily basis. So it appears that the Afghan national forces, are not in a position, even with some American presence on their soil, they're not in a position to withstand the onslaught that the Taliban have unleashed. On the 25th, there's going to be a meeting in DC. The entire Afghan leadership
Ashraf
has
Ghani
been
and
called.
Abdullah.
All of them are going to DC. I don't know what transpires there, but I don't foresee anything dramatic happening there. See, because if something dramatic had to happen, the Americans would already have taken a decision that they're either not withdrawing at this juncture, or they are postponing their exit from Afghanistan.
Could there be a last-minute change?
It is always possible. I'm not ruling it out, but I feel that the chances of it happening are very minimal. I don't really see this happening, but I can't rule it out. There is a possibility. But given the situation as it exists today on ground, as well as with regard to the American decision to withdraw troops from Afghanistan by the 4th of July, I foresee that I think we see that there is a kind of civil war, which is on the cards. And that would be a very unfortunate thing, both for Afghanistan, for Pakistan, and for the larger region. And this is what the Prime Minister has been talking about.
Did the United States envisage such kind of a situation emanating when it told the entire world, including the Afghan Taliban, that 11th of September was the deadline on which everybody will be leaving Afghanistan? Did they give the trump card to the Afghan Taliban in that
See,
manner?
the trump card, this is something which is very important. Let's go back to February of 2020 when the Americans sat across the table with the Taliban, and after prolonged negotiations with them on that given date, I think it was February 28th of 2020, when they signed a deal with the Taliban. They did so, and this is very important because it was a 4-point charter to peace in Afghanistan that the Americans had come with. First point was that the Taliban would give a guarantee that its soil would not be used for terrorist activities. Second was the Americans giving a timeline for withdrawing its troops. The third was the commencement of intra-Afghan dialogue. And the fourth was ceasefire and then holding of elections in Afghanistan. The critical blunder that the Americans committed was to delink the first two from the latter two. So for the first two, they sat across the table with Taliban and Taliban alone. The Afghan government was nowhere to be seen. So when they negotiated a deal with the Taliban, with regard to accepting their guarantee that the Afghan soil would not be used against America for terrorist activities, and they gave a timeline in return to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan, it accepted the Taliban as the future rulers of Afghanistan. You don't negotiate with people, who don't matter. Here was the US seeking guarantee from Taliban that Afghan soil would not be used for terrorist activities against the Americans. So they conceded that Taliban were the future rulers of Afghanistan. And they also gave the timeline to withdraw troops and all that. Then they started, and this is, see, the precondition of lowering of violence levels, precondition of a ceasefire, or such other preconditions are nowhere to be seen in that contract. So the blunder was committed when they agreed to withdraw troops on the mere commitment of the Taliban that they would not allow their soil to be used.
19 years in Afghanistan.
So 19 years, and it's back to square one. It's back to square one.
If it's back to square one, then why put Pakistan under pressure by asking it or pressurizing it for bases in the country?
Well, I think the Americans possibly are pretty shocked, because they feel that they've been used to pressurizing Pakistan and Pakistan giving in to their pressure. Here, there is a difference. There's a huge, huge difference. They have Imran Khan as the Prime Minister of this country, and he has the courage and conviction to say that, no, we shall not do it because it does not suit Pakistan's interest. And that's exactly what he has done in the HBO interview or in this op-ed that he has written for Washington Post. He's very candid, very categorical. He said, we are partners in peace with anybody, but we shall not be partners in war. And we would not allow the use of Pakistani soil for initiation of any terrorist activity or any attacks, any violence against Afghanistan. So this is quite in consonance, with our stated position that, we want an Afghan-led, as you said, an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned peace. So it is the stakeholders within Afghanistan which, in fact, are creating the problem, because they are not coming to the minimal meeting point that, all right, give and take, this is it. So, okay, let's start. They're not, because Taliban are the winning team right now.
True.
They are gaining ascendance with every passing day. Like I said, they're overpowering, overtaking, districts on a daily
basis. With every
basis.
passing day.
Yeah, with every passing day. So, and you want them to, ceasefire or lower the level of violence. This has been their only instrument that they have used to get to where they are today.
True.
And we're expecting them that they're going to forfeit that instrument, for the sake of peace and all that. I think that is not realpolitik. We should not expect that of the Taliban.
What needs to be the future strategy as far as Pakistan's role is concerned, as far as the possible US role is concerned? Because, of course, one thing is for clear, Pakistan is not allowing US presence in Pakistan. What now?
Well, I think Pakistan has stated its position very clearly. We are interested in peace in Afghanistan, and we are willing to do whatever is possible, to facilitate that. We have done it in the past 2.5 years, even before that. We are willing to continue doing it, but we shall not allow the use of our soil for any kind of action against Afghanistan. And number two, we are not willing to interfere in Afghan affairs. We can facilitate, we can help, we can extend support, but we shall not interfere in Afghanistan affairs. And they have to themselves get together and come to an understanding, that this is the best way to take Afghanistan.
But will that understanding happen, Raoof Hassan Saab?
No, it is not happening because, well, let's be very candid about it. For the last so many months, and I've written my pieces on this, I'll send you links to that. I have been saying that the biggest impediment in the path of peace in Afghanistan is the government of Afghanistan, is President Ghani himself, because he is interested in prolonging his stay as president of the country. And well, he has lost all legitimacy. He never had any legitimacy. There were very flawed elections. Nobody accepted those elections. Less than 10% people participated in those elections. Results were delayed for weeks and months. And it's a government, between him and Abdullah, on the basis of, sheer expediency. They did not win an election to rule Afghanistan. And when the situation has come to this pass, I think it's important for them to show some vision, to show some statesmanship. It's Afghanistan that should take precedence rather than their personal interest.
But will that take precedence? Will the national interest take precedence as far as
I don't see it taking. I don't see it happening. I don't see, because I've spoken to a lot of people in the last couple of months, and I don't think even the best of Afghans, are willing to pin their hopes on the prospect of a reconciliation between the government of Kabul and the Taliban at this stage.
In the op-ed of Washington Post, Imran Khan Saab says that history proves that Afghanistan can never be controlled from the outside. How will Afghanistan then be controlled if on one hand you have Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah who are not willing to step down from their high pedestal and form some kind of a national consensus? On the other hand, you've got the Afghan Taliban that are gaining strength with every passing day, and on the other hand you've got other warlords as well that form part of Afghanistan. How is it going to move forward in your point of view?
Ashraf Ghani is an Afghan, Abdullah is an Afghan, so are the Taliban. Basically, they are the ones who have to sit together and sort the mess out. They are not willing to do it. The government of Afghanistan is not showing any flexibility at all, as I said before.
True.
You have to show flexibility. The best course, if you ask me, would be that they come to an understanding. Ashraf Ghani resigns. There is an interim government set up in Afghanistan, of which the Taliban are a constituent. Then they're together for, let's say, 12 months to 18 months. They debate the constitution. They bring about the requisite changes, which are acceptable to bulk of the Afghan people. And then, they hold elections, and whosoever comes with the mandate of the people, rules Afghanistan. But this is the best course of action, so far as I'm concerned. But I don't think that President Ghani, will agree to that. He has not agreed so far. He's not agreeing so far. Americans, you asked me about the American role. Americans can play a role. Ashraf Ghani is their man. He's not Pakistan's man. He's not Afghan people's man also, right? He's their man. He has been put there by the Americans, and they can exert pressure on him. Instead of asking Pakistan to exert pressure, it is, I think, finally American turn to exert pressure on their nominee in Afghanistan, who has become the biggest impediment in the path of peace today.
All right. Also, Raoof Hasan Saab, what about the Afghan economy? Do you feel that despite this turmoil that is engulfing Afghanistan slowly and steadily, this non-reconciliation between the different factions in Afghanistan, do you feel that there will be some kind of an economic help by the different countries, by UN, by the US, that will continue for Afghanistan? Or do you feel once the US troops and the NATO troops have left, the US is also going to wash its hands away, of Afghanistan?
Americans have already announced an aid in excess of $3 billion for Afghanistan in the next year. The Europeans, I've been in touch with them, they are also eager to continue helping Afghanistan. That help is there, but that help is contingent on a proclamation of peace in Afghanistan. That peace I don't see coming. So unless there is that peace, they shall continue to live off the war economy. This is what has been happening in Afghanistan. Both the Afghan government, by and large, and the Taliban and all of the factions which are fighting in Afghanistan have lived off the war economy. And the war, so far as I'm concerned, my appraisal is that the war is going to continue into the future also, till one or the other party wins, which at this juncture, considering the ground realities, I think it appears that possibly the Taliban have an upper hand. So if they win, then that's a different situation. Then I will have to see how do the Americans respond to that, how do the Europeans respond to that, how do other countries respond to that. But Afghanistan cannot survive on its own, unless, of course, they continue to use the drug trade. And I understand that they possibly could lead to international sanctions.
All right.
If they say that they're going to continue using that as a means to making money.
Raoof Hasan Saab, final comment. I will go back to the op-ed that our Prime Minister wrote for Washington Post. He said, in the past, Pakistan made a mistake by choosing between warring Afghan parties, but we have learned from that experience. We have no favorites and will work with any government that enjoys the confidence of the Afghan people. Do you feel it is a right decision at the right moment made by Pakistan?
Absolutely, it should have been made a long time ago. But I salute to the courage of the Prime Minister that he has done it now, that we are not going to interfere in Afghan affairs. They have to decide. They have to decide themselves. We have lost like what? We lost 70,000 people to terror.
True.
We have lost billions and billions of dollars. What did we receive from the Americans? $20 billion. How much did we lose? Over $100 billion.
Exactly.
Pakistan is a poor country. Pakistan cannot afford the risk of another war knocking at its doors. And I unfortunately believe that that risk is very much tangible, and that risk is going to be there for as long as the Afghan stakeholders, Afghan warring factions, do not see the reality, and they all meet with the spirit of mutual cooperation and flexibility.
Then let's hope, Raoof Hasan Saab, that they do meet with this spirit of flexibility and of that hope to put Afghanistan out of the current situation of crisis that it is in and it has been embroiled in since the last few decades. Thank you very much, Raoof, Special Assistant to the Prime Minister on Information, to have talked to us very candidly upon the situation that exists currently in Afghanistan, what you perceive could happen in the days to come, and what Pakistan's role currently is as far as its relationship with Afghanistan and its role as far as the regional stability is concerned. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Omar. Very kind of you.
Thank you, sir. And let's come to our second segment, and that concerns Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. When the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir leaders urge Indian Narendra Modi to restore region's autonomy, will something happen? Will a change finally happen to Article 370 and 35A? More in the following report.
Kashmiri politicians are set to meet Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the first talks since he revoked the region's special status 2 years ago. Reportedly, Kashmiri leaders would vigorously press Mr. Modi to restore illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir's autonomy. New Delhi has strived for decades to rule the besieged Muslim-majority region with iron-fist draconian rule, but failed to dampen the indigenous popular resistance movement. While exercising new instrument of occupation in August 2019, Modi abolished Article 370 of the Constitution, ending the region's autonomy and removing its statehood by splitting it into federal territories, leading to further division, bifurcation, and demographic changes. Many Kashmiri politicians set to meet Modi were among the thousands of people detained at the time to preempt a popular backlash against unilateral move. Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir is enduring flagrant violations of human rights and genocidal state measures such as demographic designs to liquidate Muslim majority. Pakistan has relentlessly expressed serious concern over Indian government's purported plans to trigger new administrative and demographic changes while running dynamic diplomatic campaigns to highlight the plight of Kashmiris. Islamabad has reiterated that India cannot change the disputed status of illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir as enshrined the UN Security Council resolutions, nor can it force Kashmiris and Pakistan to accept illegal outcomes. Pakistan also warned India to halt and reverse its unlawful and destabilizing actions, ensure full compliance with the UN Security Council resolutions, and refrain from any further steps that might imperil regional peace and security in South Asia.
Now, to talk more about the current situation in India illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the meeting that is going to happen between Narendra Modi and the leaders of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, the G7 meeting in which Narendra Modi did take part. At the same time, the World Press Freedom Index that is listed by the Reporters Sans Frontières ranks India at 142 out of 180 countries. To talk about that and so much more, we've been joined by Altaf Hussain Wani Saab. He's a leader of the APHC and a Kashmiri leader. Thank you very much, Wani Saab. It's a pleasure to always have you here for our show, or to talk to you, because you are at the core of what is happening to the Kashmiri people in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Let's begin with the leaders in the region, in the occupied region, that have urged Narendra Modi to restore the region's autonomy, that is 370-35A. Is this going to happen?
You see, first of all, I will comment on the meeting that's going to be held on 24th between Narendra Modi and the so-called leaders of Indian-occupied Kashmir, those who have been the collaborators of the occupation so far. Their demand to restore the autonomy, but people of Jammu and Kashmir are demanding the right to self-determination. That we should keep in mind. And the sacrifices that people of Kashmir are laying down are for the right to self-determination, not for the autonomy, not for anything else. This autonomy was there, and this autonomy has not served the purpose of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now these leaders asking Narendra Modi to restore the autonomy, unfortunately, they have not learned the lesson. In past also, the fathers of these people, as Farooq Abdullah's father, Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, he was the Prime Minister of Kashmir, then he was thrown behind the bars, and then he came back and then became the Chief Minister of Kashmir with a new slogan, Naya Kashmir. And now Farooq Abdullah, Omar Abdullah, Mahbooba Mufti and others, they were put behind the bars when India abrogated Article 370 and 35A of the Constitution and enacted hundreds of laws that were never in Kashmir, and issued domiciles to millions of people of the non-state subjects in order to change the demography of Kashmir. And also they had a series of other laws by virtue of which they could make the people of Kashmir landless, homeless and jobless. Now, after doing all this, when the Narendra Modi government felt that the people of Kashmir have not given up, the resistance that people of Kashmir put, the youth of Kashmir put, and the leaders of Kashmir movement, they showed, they were asked, they were put behind the bars, they are in the jails, they are in a critical conditions, they are being even tortured in the jails. And one of our leaders who recently died in Qawwal in Udhampur jail, and then in the hospital, he was hospitalized after he was, as reportedly, he was dead, and then he was transferred to the hospital. So this is happening to leaders, but those leaders said that we are not going to compromise on anything. We will compromise only on one thing, that is right self-determination, not before that. But these leaders who have been invited by the Narendra Modi, these are those who have been groomed by the Delhi from 1947 till date on this structure, and used time to time. They are being used one after another. They are being used.
It's a face-saving measure basically by the Indian government to
now
show
the government
world,
of India has they failed to do what they wanted to do on the ground because of the resistance that was put by the people of Kashmir. That's there, and now they wanted, in order to face save, in order to give the legal cover, what they have done in Indian occupied Kashmir from August 5th onwards, August 5th, 2019 onwards, they are now contacting these leaders, and through back channel they contacted them and then asked them, Narendra Modi is going to talk to you and he is going to restore the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir, and there will be a development package, and there will be many more things which will happen. But let us see what is happening on 24th. But the history says that, as Jaswant Singh said, that BJP's policy or Narendra Modi's policy has been to take away 100 and give 50% of that. This is the policy, and say, I have done too much for you people. So this is how the situation is going in Kashmir. These leaders have lost their credibility, if there was anything, by accepting the invitation of the Narendra Modi, going for this meeting. What they will talk there, this remains $1 million question. How they will face their people coming back if Narendra Modi is not discussing with them what they demand, Article 370, 35A, restoration of that, restoration of full autonomy. If he is not
right to self-determination,
right self-determination is not their baby. That is not their baby. All the demands are within the orbit of Indian Constitution.
All right.
But the Indian government is not ready to give that to them. So because the people of Kashmir, these leaders don't have any recognition on the ground. As I already said, they try to put the people are in, and the leaders are in jail. They try to put the youth under
also
custody,
change the demography of the region.
So they wanted, in that way, they wanted to suppress that sentiment in Kashmir. But that sentiment is there, and that will remain there.
What happens post the 24th? I mean, whatever be the outcome of the meeting between these leaders, as you have said, and Narendra Modi, what is going to be the future of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
You see, one thing we should keep in mind, the Indian leadership, or the Indian government, what they are doing in Kashmir, what they have been doing for last 73 years, and more importantly for last 3 years, and even more importantly from 5th August 2019 onwards, we should keep in mind the way they are hounding the people in Kashmir. They are disenfranchising the population of Kashmir. They are making the people different segments to fight each other, and all these things.
Giving domicile to non-Kashmiris.
Domicile to non-Kashmir. I already said that they have given millions of domiciles to non-Kashmir now to change the demography of Kashmir. But you know, the people of Kashmir Valley and in the Pir Panchal region and other regions, people put a strong resistance to that, and people, Indian people are not ready. They don't feel safe to come there, and India has to now bring the whole of the population there to safeguard those people in Kashmir. And also the Dogras of Jammu, who are very much happy of the abrogation of Article 370 or 35A, they are putting a resistance against this, because they are the main victims of all these abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. So the post-24 scenario will be that the Indian government is, in a way, which is their future plan, is to have the state assembly elections in Kashmir. They will, first off, delimitation of the constituencies that is in the Supreme Court that will be dealt with, and they are asking these leaders to cooperate in the delimitation system. So they will cooperate because they have to work with them, as it looks like that by accepting the invitation and asking that we are ready for a dialogue with the government of India, and not knowing what is the outcome of the dialogue, or not knowing what is on table. And when government of India is not ready to restore the Article 370 or 35, how come those leaders come to Kashmir and take part in elections and all that? But the military exercise that has been taken place in past, that will take place in future also, but that will be a futile military exercise that will not resolve the conflict on ground. These leaders, the Indians, they want them to cooperate in the delimitation process. They want them to cooperate in the future assembly elections and thereby legalize all their actions. This is the motto of the Indian leadership. This is the motto of the Indian state. And these people who have been invited over there, who will join them, they will have to think, are they relevant on the ground? Will they remain, if they were to some extent relevant, will they remain relevant by negotiating on the terms of government of India, or they will stick by that they want the restoration of the state of Jammu and Kashmir along with Ladakh, not Jammu and Kashmir, because along with Ladakh, and they want to protect the identity of the people of Kashmir, their culture, their all that has been snatched from August 5th onwards by different ways and means.
But you know, the snatching has been happening since even before the 5th of August 2019. And to just understand that so many resolutions are there in the United Nations, nothing is happening. The US is not putting any kind of a pressure on India because of course, geoeconomic reasons or whatever. And the European Union also, apart from the human rights organizations, is not really putting any kind of pressure on India. What is the relevance then of the resolutions in the United Nations?
So resolutions are they are the Bible for the resolution of Kashmir issue. We cannot ignore them. They are the legal framework for the resolution of Kashmir issue. If you have to find a peace and peaceful resolution of Kashmir issue, if you want to peace in this region, you have to abide by those resolutions of the UN Security Council resolutions on Kashmir. If you won't accept those resolutions, then we are deviating from the basic cause. Then we are accepting the Indian hegemony. Then we are accepting all the terms and conditions which India puts, or then we say these resolutions have become obsolete and there is no reason to implement them. So coming to the point that there is pressure on India. It is not. It's not only that Indians have now arranged a meeting with these leaders. It is also because of the pressure from international community also. If they are not talking openly, but there is a pressure on the government of India, the way government of India did the annexation of Kashmir, the way they put a lockdown, they put a complete shutdown, and even today I was reading about the way the Indian government restricted the code of ethics of the journalists and others, thereby restricting each and every information, and only that information will come through the Indian media or social media, whatever the government of India likes. So these curbs and all things, they have earned India a bad name at the international community.
And they are trying to change that.
They are trying to change that. And by approaching these people, by getting their support, they will try to move ahead with certain conditions, and thereby tell the international community, oh see, we have talked to the Kashmiri leaders. So these leaders have accepted all what we have done. Also, this is a democratic process and we are running a democratic process. But the world should know, and the people around should know, that this is not a democratic process. People of Kashmir have demonstrated on the streets of Srinagar. People of Kashmir have demonstrated in each and every nook and corner of the Indian occupied state of Jammu and Kashmir. They are not going to accept the Indian hegemony. They have not accepted the bifurcation of the state. They have not accepted the revocation of the Article 370. They have not accepted the abrogation of Article 35A and lots of other things. So people are resisting against these. They will continue to resist until and unless there is a framework under the international arranged, that is for the resolution of Kashmir issue.
And of course, the right to self-determination of these people.
Yeah.
What if Articles 30, 317, 35A are restored? Do you feel it will be a step in the right direction, not for the leaders who have gone to meet Modi, but for the genuine Kashmiri leadership that is there?
It will be in a way the way the people of Kashmir have put the resistance against it. It will be a win for the people of Kashmir if that is restored. If that happens, it will give a more and more courage and moral booster for the people of Kashmir. They have forced the government of India to step back from some point in time, and then they will move forward for the right to self-determination. But that will remain the main cause of the resistance.
Exactly.
And that will remain.
And that has always been the main reason for the resistance, the right to self-determination and the plebiscite.
Sacrifices are laid for that.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Altaf Hussain Wani Saab, leader of the APHC, and of course a very prominent Kashmiri leader, to have talked to us about the current situation as far as the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir region is concerned, and the meeting that is going to happen on the 24th between Narendra Modi and some of these Kashmiri leaders. Let's hope for the best, but we never know what might happen. Let's go to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the 5th death anniversary of Qawwal Amjad Sabri. It has been 5 years that he left us in Karachi, of course, after he was murdered. More in the following report.
Amjad Farid Sabri was a prominent of Sufi Muslim tradition, son of Ghulam Farid Sabri and nephew of Maqbool Ahmad Sabri. Of Sabri brothers, he emerged as one of the South Asia's most prominent Qawwali singers. Amjad Sabri was born on December 23, 1976. And he used to participate in chorus in his father's and uncle's group Sabri Brothers. He started working as supporting vocalist after the death of his father. Later, he started his own group. Like elders, Sabri dedicated his life to keeping alive the tradition of Sufi Qawwali that dates back over 7 centuries. Amjad used to recite poetry sung by his father and uncle. His other works included Main Nazar Karun Jaane Jigar, Allah Allah, Dhoom Macha Do, Kab Ki Ronak, Kaash Ye Dua Meri, Ali Mera Dil, Phir Dikha De Haram, and others. His Qawwali, Tajdar Haram and Bhardo Jholi immortalized him in the hearts of his fans. His last music project was with Coke Studio, where he performed the exceptional Aaj Rang Hai with Rahat Fateh Ali Khan. But sadly, the light that was Amjad Sabri was extinguished few months before the release of the Coke Studio season featuring him. On June 22, 2016, Pakistan's Qawwali legend Amjad Sabri was shot dead in the target killing case in Karachi. While his absence left a huge void in the music industry, it was even more shocking for many who knew him personally. Anam Shahzad, PTV World News.
And of course, he will always be remembered for his huge body of work, especially as a Qawwal, not only in Pakistan but across the world. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the FATF, whose virtual meeting has begun from the 21st of this month in Paris. And of course, 205 members of the global network and observer organizations that include the IMF, the UN, and the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units are taking part in this 5-day virtual summit, the result of which will be announced on Friday. And one of the very important decisions that will be discussed and is being discussed is Pakistan, whether it is going to remain in the grey list or come out of the grey list. As per the reports, majority of the members want Pakistan out of the grey list, apart from a few members that are vehemently opposing Pakistan coming out of that grey list. And we all know who those members are. Nevertheless, the 25th is not that far away. In a couple of days, we will know. Pakistan has been compliant with most of what the IMF has been asking, most of what the FATF has been asking. 26 out of 27 points of the FATF ABG have been complied with. 31 out of 40 of the deliberations have been complied with. Let's see and let's hope for the best that Pakistan finally comes out of this grey list on Friday when the decision is finally announced in Paris. Till then, of course, stay tuned. We'll be coming up with more stories that matter to you, to us, and to Pakistan. This is the end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow. Stay safe, get yourself vaccinated. Allah Hafiz.